MLB The Show 24 is out, and we're ready to begin our Washington Nationals franchise. Thanks to everybody that showed support on the top teams for a franchise this year. I really appreciate, you guys tuning into that video and, hitting the like button, give me some interaction as well. We got some new subs from it too, so I hope you guys are ready to rock and roll here with MLB The Show 24. We are officially back on the diamond and excited to get into this one. And I want to say thank you to everybody that voted on the poll. It was a close race. The Nationals kind of just edged out the Pirates in it. And I was watching it go back and forth a little bit there. At some point, the Red Sox were starting to creep up, and then it all just kind of started coming in like towards the Pirates because initially the Nationals were winning this by a long shot. So it was kind of interesting to see. But taking a look at them here real quick, we see the team budget. It's $153.5 million. So it's nothing too crazy. In our division, it is the second least behind the Miami Marlins. The Marlins aren't spending anything. They're spending $121.5. So, and the Mets are spending out the wazoo, but it's not really facilitated in much. So, we'll take a look at this team. This is a rebuild. This is going to be a rebuild. We know from the fact, and the video kind of discussed it, this is a team that's in it, and they're kind of in it pretty deeply. They have kind of struggled the last 3 years, especially, at the 2019 the World Series run. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But we can see they're 28th ranked overall. They're 24th in contact, 28th in power, dead last in pitching, almost dead last in defense, and they're not very fast either. We got a couple of guys that have some pretty solid speed, but there's nothing over here that is anything crazy. So a little bit about the Nationals after, their 2019, being world champs and whatnot. Some people might be wondering what the heck happened, why they kind of fell off a little bit, and it's mainly because they lost a lot of big names. Like, you had Matt Adams, he left for the Braves. Brian Dozier went and played for the Mets for a little while. He only played in a few games, and he was DFA'd, and then he ended up retiring that same year. Anthony Rendon ended up leaving out of there, and he got a big contract from the Angels, and that didn't end up panning out at all for them. Then Trey Turner and Max Scherzer were dealt to the Dodgers in 2022. And also, you had Ryan Zimmerman retire in 2022 as well. Howard Kendrick retired during the COVID season. Then Steven Strasburg also ended up kind of retiring. I mean, I think he's officially retired, but I think they got he's got something going on with the organization. I think some finances issues. So he is on the team on this game. He's on here. He's listed in the IL part. So, and I am running with the rosters that are supposed to have like the injuries because that's kind of how I just wanted to do with it. But yeah, so he's on the game, but he's not we're not going to do anything with Strasburg. He's just kind of there out there. I mean, I'm curious what they even say. It says elbow surgery. Well, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if Strasburg was consistently hurt anyway, but that's just kind of how his career went. Well, we're already here with the roster, so how about we go ahead and go over the team. Starting with starting pitcher and ace, Josiah Gray. He's not really a ramp it up type of pitcher. He's not going to be the guy that's going to style you with, the flamethrower fastball and blow it by you at like 99 miles per hour, 100, 102, or anything like that. He's going to be using more of his all-speed pitches to get you to chase and get you out of there. So, Josiah, drafted by the Cincinnati Reds in 2017 in the second round. He was traded to the Dodgers in 2018, and then he was eventually traded to the Nationals as a part of that Max Scherzer and Trey Turner deal. Last year, he ended up being an all-star for the first time in his career. So, hey, shout out to him for that. I think the all-star, you got to have at least one representative of each team or something like that nowadays. So that could have been the case. But he still ended up having a pretty solid year. Now, when it comes to his pitch repertoire, you can see slider, cutter, sinker, four-seamer, and a 12-6 curve. Preferably, his slider, he threw it 24.6% of the time, so he does enjoy throwing that one the most. His fastball, when he does decide to use it, it's around 93 miles per hour on average. He can ramp it up to around about 96 is probably where it's probably going to peak at. Now, here is one thing, that I did come across. His velocity has actually dropped since he first came in the league. In 2021, he was averaging 95 miles per hour. And then last year, it dropped down to 94 miles per hour. And then now it's sitting around averaging 93 in 2023. So that could be, a factor of him maybe getting a little bit more control on his pitches. Because we see the numbers early on, of course, when you're rookie and early on, you're still figuring things out. You're likely going to struggle, especially as a pitcher. But the ERA and stuff, it came down. So despite, maybe a slight decrease in velocity, it doesn't cause any injury things related or whatnot. But things are coming down, he's getting more outs and whatnot. So he's doing his job. He's less runs on the board as well for him too. So, it's not the end of the world there. But yeah, like I said, I mean, look, giving up less runs and you got to use less speed. Take it. Take that all the way to the bank. Like, nobody's gonna be mad. You can't throw at 100 miles per hour. Now we're getting into a little bit kind of more maybe of the advanced analytics here. He's about league average in batters swinging and missing at 26% of his pitches, but the league average is actually is about 25%. So I think it's like 24.9. So we'll go ahead and round that up. He is a fly ball pitcher for sure. 61.4% of his pitches do result in fly balls or line drives. However, his average exit velo is 87.5 miles per hour, which is just under the league average at 87.7 miles per hour. So he is kind of, getting some weak contact when he does get the fly balls. But, limiting them, making sure they don't go out the park. That's one thing, you got to make sure you always have down. So when you are going to be a fly ball pitcher. Next up, let's go ahead and discuss Mackenzie Gore. Now, he might not be the ace of this team, but he could be pushing Josiah for the top spot in the future. These are two guys that could end up being top rotation pieces for this team for years to come. And you know what? We'll hopefully, maybe we see something blossom between Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore. Now, Mackenzie Gore, he is a former third overall pick of the San Diego Padres in 2017. He was a top-rated pitching prospect in 2020, and he was 5th overall in Major League Baseball. Now, mentioned drafted by the Padres, so he came over as a part of the Juan Soto trade in 2020, and 2022. And honestly, I may even forgot to even mention the Juan Soto trade that ended up happening at the beginning of this. So yeah, another reason why the Nationals, even been more on the decline. Even though when he was there, they were still declining anyway. But you lose a star power bat like that, tends to suck. But anyway, back to this team man that we got, Mackenzie Gore, and he actually ended up making a start versus the Padres last year. He had a really good game versus them. He ended up striking out the first 6 batters he's faced, and they ended up setting a Nationals franchise record. So, he struck out the side back-to-back innings. Pretty impressive. I guess it doesn't happen too often, but he did finish that game with 9 strikeouts, 5 hits, 1 earned run, and ended up getting the 8-3 win. And it was one of his 7 victories of the season. So, Mackenzie Gore, might have something, here in, the young kid. We'll see what, he ends up popping off for us. Now, here's where Mackenzie and Josiah do differ. Mackenzie is the blow-it-by-you type of pitcher. He's the one who wants to crank that fastball up as much as he can. He averages 95 miles per hour, and he can crank it up to almost 99. I believe it said around, like he maxed out, I think, last year, like 98.9 or something like that. So, if he can dig deep a little bit, he might end up being able to push that triple-digit mark maybe this year. Now, speaking of the fastball, he loves throwing his four-seamer. And when I mean love it, I mean he really does love to throw the four-seamer. In 2023, he threw it 1,464 times. What does that mean? It means he threw that pitch 59.5% of the time. Now, let's compare that to his next highest pitch, which was his curveball. He threw that 463 times. So he threw his four-seamer 1,000 times more than he did his next pitch. Now, his curveball, he threw that about 18.8% of the time. So one thing Mackenzie is going to have to learn to use, he's going to have to learn to use his other pitches and mix that in a little bit more if he wants to be a little bit more effective in the league. Now, I mean, he did lead this team in strikeouts last year with 151, but you probably could get the ERA down a little bit more and maybe even less home runs as well. If, maybe he mixes in the curve and sliders and, his changeup a little bit more. Now, here goes some other advanced analytics for you. Mackenzie does like to throw on the edge of the zone. He's around 42.6%, so he's above league average with that. League average is around 39% of the time. His swing and miss versus batters are above league average, coming in at 28%. So kind of not surprising that his might be a little bit higher than Josiah's is because he throws the fastball more, and he's got a high, velocity when it comes to it too. So, it's hard to catch up to that high heat sometimes. And like I mentioned earlier, the league average for that one is 25%. He's also a fly ball pitcher as well, at 60.1% of the time. But his exit velo is higher than Josiah's as well. His exit velo is above average. His was around 89.4 miles per hour, where Josiah's was like 87.5, and the league average is 87.7. So, being a fly ball pitcher, you throw harder, it's more expected, but that can also result in more home runs given up. So that is one thing we're gonna have to, hopefully find a way to control for him. Now, McKenzie's big thing, it's gonna, like I mentioned, it's gonna be cutting down the home runs. He gave up 27 last year, and it was tied for the 16th most. For Josiah, on the other hand, for him, it'll be cutting down his walks. He ended up walking 80 batters last year, which was the 5th most in the league. So, if we get those two things under control this year for both these pitchers, I think we can definitely see some well improvements out of both of these guys. All right, next up we have the bullpen. Now, the bullpen, it has to be revamped completely. There's no young, exciting pieces that are on this roster, or there's not really many solid vets either. I mean, we have Hunter Harvey here, 76 overall. He's 29 years old, but like there is literally nothing here that just, kind of brings any sort of excitement to this group. I mean, it's fine. I mean, a lot of times bullpens run with mostly vets anyway. Now, closing pitcher, we have Matt Barnes here. For whatever reason, he's in AAA. Not sure why. We're not going to be using Kyle Finnegan at a 68 overall versus 78. We're just not going to do that. So the plan will be to use Matt Barnes, who is actually our third highest rated player. So yeah, Matt Barnes be the closer. Kyle Finnegan, fortunately, you will not have that role at all. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on from that. All right, now this is the third time I'm actually having to do this recording, so I don't know what in the world is going on. I don't know if it's something to do with my recording software or if it's my mic or what, but it's getting a little old. But here we go, third time's a try, so we'll see how this one goes. Apologies, you guys may have been hearing some crackling in the earlier. I don't know what's causing it, but something's causing it, so I don't really know what in the world is going on. And with the amount of crackling I was hearing in the post edit, I was just like, okay, no, this is not going to be uploaded. Nobody's going to want to hear this. So let's go ahead and get back started. And let's pick up where I guess I'm going to have to, pick up from where I left off at. And that is Kyrie Ruiz. We're going to focus here on the infield real quick. And Ruiz, he showed some improvement from his first full year in the league as the Nats catcher, which is, exactly what you want to see. He improved really pretty much in every single category except really the on-base percentage. They did take a slight dip, but it's nothing you can't control. Maybe you can kind of turn things around right there. But hopefully we get some good things out of Ruiz. He's a switch hitter. He's 25 years old, so B potential 71 overall. Not too shabby. We'll see what we can get out of the young catcher, and hopefully he can develop a little bit. Let's move to the first baseman. We have Joey Meneses. Just played his first full season of his career last year with the Nationals. Now, he's an interesting case, though. He's only had a year in the league so far. He's 31 years old, so he is kind of like a late bloomer. And, you get that from time to time. There's some late bloomers that, end up happening. But we'll see what Joey Meneses does end up becoming, as he just got his first full year to really kind of prove himself. And got to say, he kind of delivered in his first year. He led the team in batting average. He led them in RBIs. He was tied for first in hits and doubles. So we'll see if we can unlock something out of Meneses. But if we can't at 31, maybe he becomes a trade piece. I don't know, but he definitely showed that, he does belong here. And he had a very solid year for his first year, despite, being, 30, 31 maybe at the time. So, not bad out of Joey Meneses. Second baseman, we got Luis Garcia here. Honestly, it's not a crazy amount to say about him. He's a contact hitter. He's a guy that generally bats at the bottom of the order. He's a lefty at bat. He's 23, so he is young. So, still has time to develop here. So, we're going to, try and see if we can, get him to reach his full potential. He did show a little pop. 9 home runs isn't a lot, but, it's not the worst either. Also had 18 doubles, so, maybe there's something there. Batted .266. On base, not the best. Slugging percentage, OPS, all that stuff. That's not really the type of batter he is, but, you know what? We'll see. We can try and get something out of Luis. Third base is currently occupied by Nick Senzel. However, look a little bit down. We have Brady House here, who we'll talk a little bit about him later. But he's the likely candidate to take over third base here in the near future. But Senzel does come from the Reds. He's pretty much been a below average batter his entire career. So don't know how much he'll really give us. He can be a utility guy. He plays second, he plays short, and he plays all over the outfield. So if we got a guy go down, if we got guys tired, we can possibly throw him in there, if he needs to give somebody a breather or whatnot. But, coming off a career high in home runs last year, he had 13 of them. So, really, it's kind of, I guess the best you could say about him. It's not nothing really too much to write home about Nick Senzel. Now we're kind of starting to get into talking about some guys that, could be some future core pieces here. We have shortstop C.J. Abrams, another player who was part of that Juan Soto trade back in 2022. Now, he started 151 games last year and showed quality promise with the bat, and he ended up bringing in 18 home runs last year. And he's probably around league average in his batting average and slugging percentage. He's league average, I think it was around 244, 243, somewhere around there. And then slugging percentage 412, OPS 712. So, nothing too bad, nothing too crazy. But, we would definitely like to see more development in the on-base percentage and OPS, though. We'd like to see that get a nice little boost this upcoming season. But, and the main reason is because he can flat out just swipe the bag at any given moment. He stole 47 bases last year and only got caught stealing 4 times. And the 47 stolen bases was 5th most in the league. Now, I get it. Acuna had like 70-something stolen bases. I think he may even be able to flip his number. 47 turns to 74. I think it was something crazy like that. So, Acuna definitely was absolutely on another level. But C.J. Abrams, man, 47 stolen bases is still a very good season. You can get him on that base path. Watch out, man. There's danger there. But some other notables, he did have 6 triples last year, which did lead the team. And it ended up being 13th most in the league last year. And like I said, he had 18 home runs, which was second most on the team. So the team doesn't really have a lot of pop, but he did provide somewhat of the little pop that they did end up having. So there is potential here. We just need to see if we can harness it from the former first-round pick. He's a lefty batter. He's 6'2", 74 overall, B potential, 23 years old. There's definitely something there with C.J. Abrams. Left field is currently Joey Gallo. Now, he'll likely be a DH for us. He still has pop in his bat, but not really sure how long he'll be on this team necessarily. But he's definitely not going to be out there in the field. While he does have a decent arm, the speed, I just rather not have him out there. We got other guys that can cover more ground than he will be able to. But yeah, I don't know how long Joey will be here. There's a good chance he's going to be a trade candidate here down the line. So we'll see how the season ends up going. Now, center field is currently occupied by Victor Robles. Now, Victor Robles is one of the few guys that was actually on that 2019 Nationals team. And we look at his, kind of his attributes and whatnot, they don't look too bad. Now, however, his highest stuff is kind of in bunting and fielding, so maybe not the greatest, but they're not, the end of the world. Although I feel like Victor Robles maybe didn't take that extra step that, potentially the Nationals were maybe hoping to. He played minimal games last year. I don't know if it was because of an injury or not. I don't know what caused him to only play 36 games, but not bad. However, center field, though, like third base, we have 2 young prospects. I guess a little different than third base, because third base we got 1 prospect. But center field, we got 2 young prospects up here that are likely going to be taking over the outfield. So we'll get into them a little bit here more shortly. But yeah, Dylan Cruz, James Wood, we're definitely going to be talking about them. Finally, we'll move to right field where we have Lane Thomas and Stone Garrett. These 2 guys definitely going to be, potential solid pieces for us, even though they are, despite their age at 28. Now, Lane Thomas, he's 83 overall. He is the highest overall on the team. He's the only 80 overall player that we have on this team as well. He's just a flat-out all-around player. He can slug, he can field, he can throw, and he can run. He led the team in home runs scored, and he tied with Joey Meneses for the most hits and doubles on the team. So he was flat out raking pretty much all year for the Nationals last year. And can't really complain about it. His batting average, slugging percentage, and OPS were all above average last year compared to the league. So he ended up batting .268 on base about 32% of the time. Slugging percentage .468. So not bad at all. He's been in the league for a few years though, and he's just shown really consistent improvement year in and year out. Really, since he's kind of been a full-time starter, man, he's been just showing consistent improvement. And, he could be poised for a breakout year here in this 2024 campaign. We'll have to wait and see, though. Next up we do have is Stone Garrett, another solid outfielder. He had his season cut short, though, unfortunately for him, when trying to rob a DJ LeMahieu home run out there in right field at Yankee Stadium. He planted his foot on the wall and ended up fracturing his fibula. And it's just kind of just one of those, ooh, nasty sights. I actually watched the video, and the commentator was he just, knew immediately. It was oof. But, yeah, it's just you just hate seeing injuries like that. But looks like he should be back in full force. I don't know if he's done anything in spring training or not. But, that happened back in August, so I imagine he should be fully recovered by that. And, things should be good to go for opening day for him. But he was having a solid year before he did end up getting hurt in his first full year in the majors. So, while the home runs may have not been there, he was still showing a little bit of pop, though. I mean, his slugging percentage was 457, so not too bad at all from him. And his slash line was still good, 269, 343, 457, and he had pretty much an 800 OPS. He was at .801, so definitely a solid, start that he was having. And he played just a little bit more than half the games with 89, so definitely could have saw more improvement. You never know. Maybe he even would have went on a heater, and potentially these numbers really could have skyrocketed, or could have possibly went on Colts, but never know. But there's definitely something here, possibly with Stone. We'll have to wait and see. But, while he may be a little older, he still is one of the bright spots on this team. All right, later has now come, and here are some of the top prospects on the Nationals. Now, we're back here with the center fielders. We're going to go ahead and kick it off here with Dylan Cruz. This is the top prospect in the Nationals farm system, and he is the 7th ranked prospect in all of Major League Baseball. Now, he's currently 22 years old. He was the 2nd overall pick in the last year's draft in 2023. Now, he is a little on the older side, maybe for some of the draftees. Sometimes you see coming there. We got some prospects on this team that are already younger than him. But he's also projected to make his major league debut this year. So that is going to be something interesting and something to see if that does end up being the case. But, there are some guys that are just on a fast track to join the majors, kind of like how Bryce Harper and Mike Trout were. But, we'll see, if this ends up being the case. But I would like to keep him down in the minors for a few months, maybe a couple months in Double-A. And if he's showing good improvement there, then, we can bump him up to Triple-A. But, we just don't want to ruin the development, especially of our top prospect. Next, we have James Wood. This is the 2nd ranked prospect in our farm system. And he is 14th ranked in Major League Baseball of all the prospects. So, another good, solid young prospect here. He's 21, so he is younger than Dylan Cruz, as I mentioned. And that's not the only differences they kind of have here. But he's also projected to make his Major League Baseball debut this year as well. So we could be having James Wood and Dylan Cruz potentially joining the show this season. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But like Dylan, I don't want him to come up too soon. Don't want to ruin the development. But, there's a couple, differences that they do have. And honestly, kind of one of the major ones is their height and weight difference. James Wood, you guys can see here, 6'7", 240 pounds. Dylan Cruz, 6 foot, 205 pounds. So James Wood's kind of a monster of a man there. A 21-year-old, I'm going to be 6'7", I'm a man. Couldn't even imagine that. I'm 5'11", 6 footish. So, yeah, that is just seeing somebody 6'7" in an outfield, that's got to be crazy. I know we got some tall outfielders out there before. I mean, got Aaron Judge, what is he, 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", somewhere around there. But 6'7", regardless, still mountain of a man there, and we'll see, if it, pays off for him being out there or not. But one thing we would like to see, though, out of James, we'd like to see him polish up his bat a little bit more. Dylan seems to have more of a polished bat. If we look at the the stats and attributes wise, his numbers could be a little bit better, especially with the vision, discipline, and clutch stuff. It's kind of what we're seeing really the weaknesses for James right now, but. Double-A slash line. Unfortunately, they don't have it on here, but, it wasn't too bad. He batted 248, 334, and 492, and he had 18 home runs. So the potential is there. Just need to see, a little bit more before we have him make that leap to the majors. All right. Here's our next 8 potential prospect right here in Brady House, 65 overall shortstop. He's the 3rd ranked prospect in the Nationals farm system, and he is 48th ranked prospect in Major League Baseball. Now, this is our final prospect that we do have ranked in the top 100. So we got 3 guys, so, hey, not the worst thing in the world at all. So we'll gladly take as many as we can get because this team needs it. So he's a 2021 first-round pick, 11th overall by the Nationals, so he is going to be a homegrown guy. Standing at 6'4", so tall guy as well. Got a couple tall guys here on this squad here, and he's projected to be in the majors in 2025. So he might see a full year down in Triple-A ball before he ends up coming up. So like I said with the last 2 guys, we don't want to ruin any development with these guys. Want to make sure they're doing their thing down in the minors, and they're showing the growth. If we need to move these guys down to Double-A, hey, they'll go down to Double-A if they're not doing too well in Triple-A. So Brady House, he's 20 years old, so he's got plenty of time before he needs to make any drastic movements to the majors. So we'll gladly keep an eye on these guys and make sure, they're developing properly. But in the short time that Brady did play in Double-A, he only played 36 games down there. He played really well. Had a slash line of 324, 358, 475, and he ended up having 3 home runs. So he does have maybe a little pop. I mean, that's not, the most home runs in 36 games at all. I mean, only having 3 might be on the lower end of that. But, for a third baseman, maybe he ends up figuring out as he gets older. I mean, like I said, he's only 20, so he's got plenty of time. All right, next up, we have our 4th-ranked prospect on the team, and that is Cade Cavalli. Now, he would likely been on the opening day roster for us, but you guys can see he's got the big IL next to his name, so he is on the injured list. I didn't realize that until I had got into the league and stuff, and I did the, keep the rosters with the injuries on it. So, unfortunately, he is out with Tommy John. He ended up getting hurt at the beginning of last year. So, for us, looks like he's going to be out 3 to 4 months, so maybe he comes back around potentially end of July, maybe August for us. Could even be a September push. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that one ends up going out for us. But it's unfortunate because I was, hoping to, kind of pitch with the guy. But you know what? It is what it is. But he's one of these guys. He's got a hot fastball. Like, he may even be at a peak at triple digits potentially. But curious to see how he'll be when he comes back from Tommy John. Some guys come back better than others. So that will be interesting to see how he fares in real life. But Cade Cavalli, I'd like to see him, potentially this year, but we'll just have to wait a few months into the season to see what we have in a young potential pitcher. So we do have some pieces on this team, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done on this team. Because right now, like I said, having one guy that's above 80 overall, it's not necessarily the best. But hey, let's make this the best franchise run we've had yet. And let's see if we can turn the Nationals back into a contender. But hey, it's a tough NL East. It's not going to be easy. You got the Braves and the Phillies sitting there. You got maybe the Mets. You never know what you're going to get out of that team. Sometimes you're going to get more than what you expect. And the Marlins aren't going to be a cakewalk either. They got some talent down there in Miami as well. So this first year, it's probably going to be quite a bit of simming. I won't lie. We're probably going to dive in. I was definitely going to be diving in with 3 pitchers, but we're probably going to focus maybe more on Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore. Unfortunately, not going to be able to really look at Cade Cavalli much to possibly the end of the year. So we'll see how that one ends up going out when he just is able to come back. But also we have some minor league action in here as well. We're going to want to see how our prospects are faring here in the league too. So I normally did those videos on Wednesday, so I might do that too. If you guys are interested, just keep an eye on the minors because we want to see how our guys are growing down there too. But more than likely, this here is going to be dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Except this week, it is launch week. So, unfortunately, no gameplay today. But we will be back tomorrow on Tuesday when the game officially comes out. So, I appreciate you guys for checking out the video. If y'all want to see more of the Washington Nationals franchise, make sure you guys bang that like button for me. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with this franchise and more that we're going to be posting on the channel. I also got Madden going on as well. That's not going anywhere. Madden's kind of in the dry season though, so we're going to probably put that more towards the back burner. We're going to try and pump out as much, Nationals content and just other MLB stuff. I might be doing some live streams with my boy Cal here soon too with some Diamond Dynasty. So we'll take a look at that. But, I appreciate everybody. Give me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the video. If you guys would have liked to have seen more or what you guys think, how MLB is treating you guys if you guys are on the early access and, when the game does officially drop, y'all excited for it. I'm glad to be back on MLB The Show, though. This is kind of where a lot of my channel has kind of grown from anyway, so I always love it. I know baseball may not be the most popular sport to a lot of people, but I enjoy it, so I'm glad it's back. We're back with it, everybody. I hope you guys stay safe out there. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I will catch you guys tomorrow when we got opening day versus the Cincinnati Reds, and we'll get our first look at Josiah Gray and the rest of the team. But I'm out to next time, everybody. Hope you guys stay safe out there. I'll catch you guys in the next one. God bless and peace. Close it out, Future.
And it's the love from my fans got me still here.